1 in 4 of us, you, your spouse, child, neighbor, coworker, maybe the driver next to you on 225, any one of us may be struggling with a mental health condition. Statistically, it's more common than cancer, diabetes, or heart disease. There is a great need to understand it and the impact it has on all of us.
Mental health does not discriminate against anyone, but there may not be a cure, but there is a possibility of recovery.
What are the signs? How can you help? For more than 40 years, a trained team in Aurora has been providing those answers.
For having had us in your life and us being invited into your life ought to be better. And that's our goal.
Hi, I'm Wendy Brockman. We have a unique opportunity to openly discuss mental illness, the stigma, and the treatment. In the end, you may think differently about how it affects all of us. Dateline Aurora starts now. While our city has nearly tripled in size, the Aurora Mental Health Center has been a constant partner growing with us. And it all started back in 1975. Our lives, busy, fulfilling worlds full of ups and downs, all colliding in our shared community.
The world has gotten so much smaller.
For some of us, this fast pace can be too much.
Think about your own life. Think about your friends. At any one point, some part of those people were so overwhelmed they couldn't handle it.
Stress impacts absolutely everybody.
And while stress is completely normal, like any mental illness, there is a broader impact.
Whether they have serious mental illness, whether they're struggling with life's worst disasters, or whether their life right now is just as good as it's ever been, all those situations are helped and improved by whatever this community brings that helps them enjoy life, lower stress.
One of the things that happens when we don't handle it effectively is we start to take it out on other people.
So if our stress and mental health is left untreated, it becomes part of all of our lives.
All of those take away from this city. All of them take away from you and I.
Mental health is something that touches each and every one of us.
1 in 4 persons are diagnosed, but there are those other individuals that have not been diagnosed that we really want to be able to bring in to help.
You heard that right. 1 in 4 of us is living with a mental health diagnosis, depression, post-traumatic stress, eating disorders, anxiety, and the list goes on to include bipolar disorder and schizophrenia.
Then there's so much more that we should be doing for these folks so that instead of judging them.
Who's in the car next to you? Who's in class with your 2nd grader? How is life going for them? Our community wellness needs a partner like Aurora Mental Health Center. And for 40 years, their passionate professionals have helped to stabilize our ever-changing community.
Of different individuals, different generations, different cultures, different spirituality cultures.
That's 4 decades of growing side by side. 40 years of making our world a better place.
We exploded into a real cosmopolitan city over the 40 years. And what that's meant for the Mental Health Center is mirroring that.
We all want the same things. Think about it. What makes you happy?
Everybody, no matter how serious the mental illness, person with schizophrenia, person with bipolar, me, my children, my grandchildren, you, we all really want the same thing.
And that's why we all need to care.
What we want is a reason to get up in the morning. We want a safe place to go at night, and we want a date on Friday night. That's everybody. That is literally everybody. And that when people are struggling with mental illness and stress, it's to get their life back to where those three things matter.
It all started back in 1975 with the dedication and vision from one ambitious woman, Ellen Marachek.
Mental health is as important as physical health, as having a job, that it's tied up into the whole system of life and the whole system of well-being.
Ellen and a very dedicated team built the Aurora Mental Health Center we have today. A grassroots vision has grown to serve over 17,000 individuals in Aurora each year.
We went from a small clinic that served the people of Aurora to a very comprehensive mental health system that serves this very complex city.
Today, there are educational resources.
Everything that we talk about in here is confidential.
Like this mental health first aid class.
We need to know CPR, and we know exactly what that is. Well, mental health is equivalent to that. There may not be a cure, but there is a possibility of recovery, that you can live with mental health and still do any normal daily activity.
There is one-on-one therapy, outreach, and extensive resources available to everyone. This private nonprofit organization is a true leader in our community.
And I throw pineapple on top.
Just ask Ernest Doyle. He lived on the streets for nearly 5 years until he met a social worker from Aurora Mental Health's PATH program. It's a drop-in center for people who are homeless.
I didn't know I had mental health issues. You think everybody else is on the same plane. Then you find out, like EJ, it's like, no, you think a little different than everybody else.
When we allow people to come to us the way that they are ready to, then they will show up for us and get stuff done. And that benefits the community in that those people are off the streets and they're out of our hospitals and they're out of our detoxes and they're out of our jails and our court systems.
Today, Ernie has a place to call home. His front door is leading to a whole new life, thanks to Aurora Mental Health. Aurora Mental Health is behind the scenes in each of our neighborhoods, helping us all to live life to the fullest. It's about educating.
Just talking to those individuals how they can be more preventative when they see a crisis happening.
It's about personalized care.
There is hope for me. There is a possible life down the road.
It's about helping families.
There will be a point in probably all of our lives where the level of stress we experience overwhelms our ability to cope with it. And at that point, I think we need to feel okay in getting the help that we need to take care of ourselves and take care of our families.
And ultimately, it's about making Aurora the strongest and safest community it can be.
You don't want people in the court system who are engaged in what we call criminal behavior, and you can head that off with mental health.
So what if Ellen Marachek could see her Aurora now?
Oh, she'd be pleased. Oh, she'd be proud, she'd be pleased. She would clearly be our biggest advocate still. She's amazing. Ellen Marachek was a force of nature.
And that force continues. Thank you, Aurora Mental Health, for a healthy and happy 40 years. All right, let's meet the experts on the front lines every day. On my left is Dr. Randy Stith, the very passionate executive director of Aurora Mental Health since 1978. We also have Dr. Mara Kalin, who heads up the Children's Division, and you've become a key contact since the Aurora Theater tragedy in 2012. We have Peter Sukeli, who is the president of the Aurora Mental Health Board, and Katie Broren, a proud client of Aurora Mental Health, who is going to share with us a personal story of triumph. We are looking forward to that. Dr. Stith, how has Aurora Mental Health changed?
Well, given the way Aurora itself has changed and just grown as a city and become a real city, the mental health center has also changed and grown. Now we went from a small clinic with 6 staff in 1975.
Six people.
6 people. The building was donated by the Aurora Public Schools. And today we have 21 sites in Aurora. We have over 800 staff. And this year we'll serve over 21,000 clients.
Wow. So, Mara, who comes there for help?
You know, it's a wide range of folks that come for help. Some have really serious mental health concerns. Some have very mild mental health concerns. Some aren't really struggling with mental health, but really want to improve their wellness, learn new strategies for just having a better life day to day, improving their relationships, become better parents, just make sure that they are living the best life that they can live.
What kind of mental health challenges do children face?
Children face a lot of the same mental health challenges that adults face. Sometimes they can look a bit different. Usually they involve some problem in their daily functioning, either with their mood or their behavior or both, that really get in the way of them being able to do the things that children need to do day to day and to be happy-go-lucky kids like we want all of our kids to be.
So you have therapy rooms, as we're seeing here, and you can kind of tailor the program to the child's needs.
Absolutely. We can do individual therapy with kids. We have play therapy rooms that have a number of different options for working with kids in a more kid-friendly way, such as sand and toys. We do groups. We work with parents a lot too, sometimes with the children and sometimes separately, because parents play such an integral role in the mental health of their children. We also work in schools with teachers and in classrooms, another environment where sometimes problems will come up and where you want kids to be really happy and functioning well.
Is the stigma about mental health changing, do you think, Mara?
You know, I think so, I hope so. We work really hard to combat that and to share the stories of everyday people who are struggling with a lot of mental health issues. And I think also people recognize a little bit more readily the mind-body connection and how much mental health is really not distinguishable from physical health. And it's something that everybody should pay attention to before it gets to be something that really gets out of hand. So I'm hopeful that stigma is changing. I think there's still a lot of work to be done, certainly.
Peter, what do you think? Do you see progress?
We have, but as the world changes, so does the stigma. It depends on the culture, it depends on the thought process. Generational stigma stays there from father and mother to the next generation, from grandparents, and it's breaking that down, helping them to understand that everyone needs help. And in many cases, we are helping everyone, from the grandfather all the way down to the child. So that part of it really does help break this stigma of it. The other part of breaking that down is just what Mara was saying, is that the more and more studies are being done that the mental health also affects the physical health, and that, by getting those two together, really helps to make the person whole.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about mental health?
The biggest misconception? Well, certainly one of the, I think, most challenging misconceptions is that people with a mental illness are different. That for some reason, and of course that relates to the stigma, that a person with a mental illness is going to be different. You have to relate to them different. You may have to be afraid of them. And that's an absolute misconception. I mean, all the evidence, people with a mental illness are like you and I. And depending on what's going on any given day, you and I may be struggling with stress, anxiety. We may be sad, and we may be upset about something. Well, so is anybody who has any given mental illness on any given day. And are some people with mental illness violent? Yes. Are more people violent who don't have a mental illness? That's what the research says. So the misconception is that the differences are core differences. The example I use most often, and it relates to the stigma. I have diabetes. Calling me a diabetic or defining me by that makes no sense. That's such a small part of my life. Well, so is schizophrenia with somebody who has schizophrenia, or somebody who has a bipolar mental illness. That's a part of their life. That's not who they are.
Right. Katie, you can relate. You have had quite a journey. Where should we start?
Well, I think with Aurora Mental Health, I had to start in a brand new life. You know, like Randy was saying, if you don't have a cast, if you don't have stitches, you don't have a bruise, people have no idea that you really feel poorly or that you have a mental health disease. So for me, it was alcoholism, DUIs, and I was extremely fortunate to go to a program at Aurora Mental Health called ADMIT, and it was designed with the county sheriff's office and Aurora Mental Health. What it does is it gives you treatment for the same time that you were given by a judge for incarceration. And I'm a big believer in treatment over jail time. It saved my life.
How long have you been sober?
I'm coming up on 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You think a lot of people who are incarcerated have mental health issues?
Not always. I mean, to add to the everybody has one, you may even begin one before you even get out. You know, PTSD may be an issue after you're leaving. Everybody's affected by their surroundings differently. And for me now, I live in Colorado Coalition for the Homeless Housing. I'm reminded every single day when I see my neighbors that we've all struggled in the past. That helps to keep me sober. And I also still work with Aurora Mental Health. I've gone twice a week, every day since I graduated. I believe it's a part of my sobriety.
And what are you doing now to promote the programs of Aurora Mental Health?
I think I'm not really promoting. I am more satisfied on a one-on-one. The community transition program, which is what I work under and which I also attended, there are very basic skills that people don't realize. If they've been incarcerated for some amount of time, they can't use a bus, they don't have a car, they don't have a cell phone. These are the things that add pressure, tension, fear for the client. And sometimes when that happens, the fear leads you back to the core of your disease. So it's very important the day they get out of jail is to begin talking about a new life and how to do that.
And you have truly come so far.
Oh, thank you.
You've met some pretty significant figures. The Pope?
Yeah, I was very fortunate in my career. I served as a presidential appointee in the Clinton administration. I was chief of staff of the Small Business Administration.
There you are.
And then I worked under, the travel office, which is, I was in Eisenach, Germany when I was thrown from a horse. We were riding the horses that the president would ride the next day, and I was airlifted out and I survived a traumatic brain injury. I pretty much started my life over at 39.
And you look at that traumatic brain injury as the start of your mental illness?
Actually, no. I've been diagnosed with bipolar, chronic anxiety, and as a result of some domestic abuse, I suffer some PTSD. And what's unique too is like a helicopter. I was airlifted out, the brain injury from a helicopter. When I hear a helicopter today, it's amazing how much in fear I am. It's just the sound that brings me back to that illness that I have and will always have.
What do you want people to know about mental illness?
Well, I think, first of all, it goes back. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt was one of our best leaders and educators. And now, I don't know if people realize this, but the Affordable Care Act includes mental health illness assistance, programs, treatment, and it also includes substance abuse. And that has never happened before under federal insurance. So where many of us have had to pay for treatment or waited for a program from Aurora Mental Health, you now have an opportunity under your insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, to receive help.
Wow. Peter, the Aurora Mental Health Board is pretty unique, isn't it?
It really is. We have 33 members. It's very diverse, very directed. They're a group of people that have come together and continue to come together, whether it's the theater shooting or whatever need is out there, they're always available. They do everything through committee, and all of those decisions that are made for the center to help Randy as well as all of the staff that we have are really made by people who care and who have just such a strength and knowledge and advocacy for mental health. And that is something totally unique. It's one of the largest boards in the United States. Whenever we're getting ready in October to go back to what we call Hill Day and talk to our legislators, when we go back there, they listen, because we take a large contingency and we speak very, very pointed at what we need, what we want them to understand about mental health, and what they can do to help all of the people in the United States, as well as especially the people in Colorado.
It says a lot that so many of your board members have sat on that board for a long time.
It really has. We have members that have been there a year or been there 20 years. And again, it comes back to their real passion. You mentioned Dr. Stith. It's pretty hard not to be around him very long and get passion for mental health. And that's what these people bring to the table. They really are very dedicated, again, to the staff. They want to see the community better, and they do the things that are necessary.
Maura, let's talk about the warning signs. What are they?
I think typical warning signs are any sudden or extreme changes in mood or behavior, social functioning. If somebody starts to isolate themselves from others, stops enjoying activities that they used to enjoy, starts to become really angry or aggressive. And certainly the most serious warning signs are if somebody is having thoughts of hurting themselves or someone else, using substances to an extreme. Those are the sorts of things that it's a good idea to seek help immediately.
And parents can look for certain things in their children?
Parents can look for certain things in their children. You know, parents know their kids, and so when your kid's behavior changes, when his or her mood changes, he's not functioning as well at school as he used to, he doesn't have the same peer relationships or sibling relationships that he or she used to have, significant changes like that. Sometimes in kids too, or in adults, physical symptoms can be a manifestation of a mental health problem. So that's another thing to look at as a possibility.
So Katie, how do we encourage people to recognize that illness and then ask for help? How do you get them to do that?
Well, I think, you know, the foundation of the program that I graduated from is dual diagnosed. So they recognize that you have a mental health illness together with, in my case, an addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And so that doesn't always add to that problem. You know, some folks have mental health illnesses and they don't even know it. And so for me, being diagnosed early on was important, but my family never recognized it. We never talked about it. I never saw a psychiatrist. I never sought help other than the, you know, primary caretaker. And I think I probably would have made some different choices in life had I known. I truly believe that by the time you're 18, I would like to know what the history of mental health illness is in my family. Those who want to share it can, and those who don't have to. But I think I would have made fewer mistakes had I known that there's mental health illness on both sides of my family.
So if we see someone with these warning signs, how do we encourage them to get help?
Well, very straightforward, talking about it.
Okay.
Asking what you can do, asking if you can call for them. Certainly right now, Colorado is fortunate to have a new crisis system statewide in which we have one phone number for anybody anywhere in the state. And that number then allows them to immediately, if you say you live in Aurora, immediately get hold of Aurora and get hold of an Aurora therapist on the phone. So you call that 1-800 number. They will connect you immediately to Aurora Mental Health if that's what you want from Aurora. Therapists will answer the phone. You know, that system is based on having therapists 24/7 answering the phone. They will put you in touch. They will work with you to get an appointment with us if you want to come in. Or if you, right today, you just go into one of our walk-in centers. We will see you within 5 minutes.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
Maura, what if there were no Aurora Mental Health? Say it never existed. how would our community be different?
Wow, I mean, I think it's really hard to even speculate on that. I think that we are so ingrained in the community, not just in terms of our clinic-based services, but you know, we have co-located facilities with a lot of other types of providers. We're in many public schools. We're in safety net clinics for kids and adults. Our Refugee Wellness Center is the first point of contact for all refugees coming into Aurora for their physical health and mental health screenings. We're a training institution. We train students to become therapists and psychiatrists working in many different languages. So I think we're so much a part of the community that I can't really imagine what our community would be like if we weren't there. I don't really want to imagine it, frankly.
That's an amazing thing.
It really is. It's kind of become the fabric of all aspects of our community. It's intertwined. Dr. Stith, you gave us Aurora Mental Health's mission statement. For having had us in your life with our skills, technology, and knowledge, your life should be better. What does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, and I believe this about our staff and our board, that we have to be grateful that people invite us into their lives. I mean, these are people who are struggling. They're often in very, very dire straits around their own life, their own family. And yet they invite us into their life, and that's intrusive. I mean, think of inviting anybody you don't know into your life in an intimate way. So our responsibility is that your life's better for us being in your life. And that's what we're about. That's what we work hard to do. We work hard to make sure our staff have the skills, the cutting edge technology, the training, learning whatever new techniques to get us one step forward in helping people. But the reality is we've been invited into people's lives, and so we have a responsibility.
I see you getting emotional about that. Why?
Well, that's what we're about. Right. I mean, helping people. That's such a gift to be allowed to do that with anybody, with Katie, with children. That's a gift people give you and give us, and I feel very strongly about that.
Well, I think that's why you're all sitting here, the exact same reason. You care, you care, you care, you care.
Mm-hmm.
Best job in the world.
Best job in the world.
Touch a lot of people just in a day, in an hour, in minutes.
Now you have tears. Where are these coming from, Katie?
Just Randy's, I think his outlook, but not only his basic understanding of the need to have someone come into Aurora Mental Health or to have us as a part of their life. It could be intrusive for some. And for others, they didn't even know they needed it. So you bring a lot of relief to some folks, and I think maintain a lot more core beliefs that they thought they never had.
It has been such a pleasure having you guys here. We have really enjoyed all of you sharing your thoughts, and let's look forward to another 40 years. All right.
Thank you.
That is all for this episode of Dateline Aurora. Be sure to check us out online and on our new video on demand website, auroratv.org. Thanks for joining us.